Welcome to our deep dive. We're going to be looking into educational streaming services.
Yeah.
Online courses, video lessons, all that. We've got a ton of articles and research ready. So let's get right to it.
Definitely a really exciting time to be a learner. Lots happening.
Okay, so first up, this whole e-learning boom. What's driving this?
Well, the pandemic, for sure.
Yeah.
Suddenly, everyone had to learn online. And a lot of folks, they found they kind of liked it.
Right, right.
Platforms like, Great Learning, millions of students and instructors. It's a big change.
Yeah, but it's more than just like convenience, right?
Yeah.
I mean, $2.45 billion last year alone, and it's going to keep growing like crazy.
That's right. It's access. Busy people, they can fit learning into their lives, wherever, whenever.
Makes sense.
So yeah, lots of cool stuff happening because of that.
Cool stuff. Like
Yeah.
what trends are shaping the future of all this?
Well, one that's really interesting is personalized learning, like AI that knows your learning style, your preferences, even your emotions, to tailor the content just for you.
Wow, yeah.
Oh.
But is that risky? I mean, could it create like echo chambers? Where people only get information that confirms what they already think?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, a big challenge for developers.
Right.
You want to personalize, but without making learning too narrow. The algorithms, they need to be like really sophisticated.
Okay. So personalization, but done right. What else is coming?
Mobile learning's huge. Smartphones, tablets, learn on the go.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're all like attached to our phones anyway.
Right. And then there's microlearning, those short lessons for busy people, and then social learning where you learn with others online.
Okay. So it's about flexibility, engagement, connection. Got it.
Okay.
But there are so many platforms out there.
So many.
What should people be looking for when they're choosing one?
Great question. Okay, so ease of use is like super important. Think of Netflix or YouTube. Those are easy to use.
Right. You know what you want and you find it.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
platforms that are easy to use, people are way more satisfied. Makes sense. No one wants to struggle,
Yeah.
Content's important, but so is the experience, right? Another key thing is secure content delivery. They got to have DRM,
DRM.
digital rights management, to protect the content from piracy.
Oh, right.
That builds trust with the creators,
Yeah.
and they're more likely to put their stuff on those platforms.
It's like it protects everybody.
Yeah. And then monetization. That's important. How they make money, subscriptions, pay-per-view, ads, like Disney plus Hotstar, they make a lot from ads, actually.
So it's finding the right balance between like people having access and the platform making money.
Exactly. And then multi-device support, being able to switch from your phone to your laptop,
Yeah.
Most people use multiple devices for learning, and the platforms that make that smooth, they keep way more users.
Okay, cool. What else?
Analytics. That's might sound boring, but it's really important. Data about how people are using the platform,
Yeah.
what they're watching, when they stop watching.
So it's like they're using that to make the content better.
Exactly. The platforms that use that data well, they do much better at keeping people learning.
Okay.
And then offline viewing, being able to download the content, super important if you travel a lot, or if your internet's not great.
Oh, yeah. I use that all the time.
A lot of people do. Like Netflix, they say that's a big part of their usage in some places.
Makes sense.
Those are some of the big things to look for. It's an exciting time for all this. It's kind of amazing when you think about it, how these platforms are, tackling some of the problems with traditional learning.
What do you mean?
Well, like accessibility, traditional education, it can be so expensive.
Yeah.
And if you don't live in the right place.
Right.
Right.
You might not have access to the best stuff.
It's like education is stuck behind like a paywall and a zip code.
Yeah, exactly. But with streaming, the location doesn't matter as much anymore. You can like learn from the best people in the world wherever you are.
And it's usually way cheaper.
Right. So it's like it's more democratic,
I like that. Democratizing knowledge.
And it's not just about money and location. It's also about like different learning styles. In a classroom, it's kind of one size fits all.
Right.
But online, you can adjust things to fit you.
Like you can go at your own pace.
Exactly. Quizzes that change based on how you're doing. Or like you can slow down the video if you need to. Closed captions, stuff like that.
Yeah. There's also like the whole community aspect. Learning online can be kind of lonely.
True.
But some platforms are adding like social features.
Right. Forums, discussions, even study groups online. So you You don't feel so isolated. Yeah, it's like it brings back that feeling of being in a classroom, but it's global.
Exactly. And that can be super motivating to be part of a community. Switching gears a bit, these platforms, they're also great for the teachers themselves.
Oh yeah, we haven't really talked about that.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. They have a global reach now.
Anyone in the world can be their student.
Right. And they have more control over their content. They can create their own courses, set their own prices.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like they can be their own boss.
So it's a win-win, really, for learners and for educators.
I think so. But of course, there are some challenges, some things to be aware of.
Yeah, of course. Like what?
Well, the digital divide, not everyone has access to technology or even good internet.
That's true.
So that's a big issue. And then there's the problem of quality control.
What do you mean?
Well, with so much content out there, it's hard to know what's good and what's not.
Right. You need some way to, like, filter out the junk.
Exactly. People need to be critical thinkers. Look for platforms with a good reputation, teachers who know what they're talking about.
So it's like you got to be careful what you believe, even if it's online.
Right. And be careful of, like, information overload. There's just so much stuff out there. It's easy to get overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's like you're at a buffet, but it's a buffet of knowledge. You can't eat everything.
Uh-huh. That's a good way to put it. You gotta be strategic. Okay, let's talk about the business side of all this.
Okay, so clearly there's a lot of money pouring into this. What's driving that?
Well, the demand is huge, like we said. People want to learn online, and they're willing to, to pay for it. So businesses are seeing that, and they're investing.
Makes sense. It's just like supply and demand.
Right. And all that competition, it's actually good for the learners. It means the platforms have to, like, keep getting better. And then there's all the new technology, that's helping things grow. Well, video streaming is, like, way better than it used to be. Faster, smoother. And smartphones, obviously, those make learning so much more portable.
Yeah, you can learn anywhere now.
Exactly. And then AI, personalized learning, all that stuff. That's making a big difference.
Okay, so say someone is listening to this and they think, hey, I want to start my own educational streaming service.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
First of all, know your audience. Like, who are you trying to reach? What do they want to learn?
Right, you got to know your customer.
Exactly. Once you know that, you can start making content that, that they'll actually want.
And then you got to pick the right platform. Right?
Yeah.
There's so many choices.
Yeah. Do your research, compare them, and choose one that fits what you want to do.
And you need to market it, right?
Yeah.
People need to know it exists.
Oh, definitely. Social media, all that stuff, build a community, and build a brand.
A brand.
Yeah, like an identity that people recognize and trust.
So it's not just building a platform, it's building, like, a whole company.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so looking ahead, what do you think the future holds for all this?
Oh, that's a big question.
Well, I think it's pretty bright. We're going to see, like, even more personalization.
You mean like that AI stuff we talked about?
Yeah, but even more advanced. Imagine a world where every single learner has, like, their own custom learning path.
That's crazy, like a personal tutor for everyone.
Kind of, yeah. And VR, virtual reality, that's going to be huge in education.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Imagine, like, going on a field trip to ancient Rome virtually, or exploring the human body from the inside.
Wow.
It could make learning so much more, exciting and engaging. And I think the lines between, like, formal and informal learning are going to blur.
What does that mean?
Like, right now we think of education as, school, college, stuff like that. But with streaming, learning just becomes part of life.
Yeah. You can learn anything, anytime.
Right. It's not about following a set path. It's about constantly learning and growing.
Okay, so personalization, immersion, and integration. That's the future.
I think so, yeah. It's exciting.
And it's all happening thanks to these platforms and the teachers who are, pushing the boundaries.
For sure.
So let's talk about how these platforms are actually being used. We've touched on it, but can you give us some more concrete examples?
Yeah, sure. So in K-12, schools are using them to help teachers give students more resources, practice, things like that.
So it's not about replacing teachers?
No. It's about giving them more tools.
Okay.
And they can also create, like, virtual classrooms, that blended learning that we saw during the pandemic.
Right. Seems like that's here to stay.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It's the best of both worlds, right? You get the flexibility of online, but you still have some in-person stuff.
Makes sense. What about higher education?
Oh, they're using them a lot too. For online courses, entire degree programs even.
So it's making college more accessible.
Yeah, and more affordable. And it's also opening up like lifelong learning for people who are already working.
Right. Keep learning new things. Keep your skills up to date.
Exactly. And businesses are using these platforms a lot for like employee training.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Way cheaper than traditional training and more convenient.
So it's not just for like students in the traditional sense. It's for anyone who wants to learn something new.
Exactly. And it's not just, technical skills. You can learn about communication, leadership, all those soft skills.
Those are just as important, really.
Yeah, they make you a better worker, a better person.
Okay, so we've talked about how this is good for, for individuals.
Right.
But what about like society as a whole?
Oh, it's a big deal. I mean, when more people have access to education, it changes everything.
Yeah.
It can like level the playing field. It doesn't matter where you come from or how much money you have.
Right. Everyone has a chance to learn.
Exactly. And that means like we could see so much more innovation, creativity, people reaching their full potential.
That's a cool thought.
Yeah. And it's good for society in general, right? When people are more educated, they're more informed, more engaged.
Right. They can make better decisions.
Exactly. So it's good for the economy, for democracy, for everything.
Okay. But are there any like downsides we should be thinking about?
Oh, for sure. I mean, like with any new technology, there are things to be careful of.
Like what?
Well, one thing is jobs. Some jobs might disappear, because of automation and AI.
That's a big concern. Yeah.
It is. So we need to make sure people are learning the skills they need for the jobs of the future.
The skills that like robots can't do.
Exactly. Critical thinking, problem solving, all that. And we also need to be careful about how we use AI in education. Make sure it's fair, that it doesn't create more inequality.
Right, right.
So it's complicated. We need to be having these conversations, figuring out how to do this right.
So it's not just about the technology. It's about how we use it.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about how these platforms are changing how we learn, but what about the teachers themselves?
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Does this mean like teachers aren't needed anymore?
Oh, no, not at all. I think their role is, it's changing, but it's still really important.
Right.
They're becoming more like guides, mentors. They help students, figure things out, develop those critical thinking skills.
So they're still essential.
Absolutely. They bring that human element that you can't get from a computer. Encouragement, inspiration.
That's a good point.
So it's a really interesting time for teachers. They have to like adapt, but there are also a lot of new possibilities.
Right, right. Well, I think we've covered just about everything from, how these platforms work to the big picture stuff about society and the future of learning.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
We hope you found this deep dive informative and interesting.
And hopefully it's given you some things to think about, to explore further.
Because the future of education, it's happening now.
And we all have a role to play in shaping it.
So keep learning, keep asking questions.
And we'll see you on our next deep dive.